Yeah.
Hey, James. Hi, everybody. See some people joining, getting into the meeting room here. So we'll give it a minute or so. Tried to enable the chat. So if you could try testing out the chat, maybe let us know where you're joining from today, where you're joining the call from. Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks for taking some time to join us and meet with us today. For those of you who are just joining, if you could put in the chat where you're calling in from, that'd be great. Can see we got people kind of around the country and even different parts of the world. So it's kind of always nice to see where people are calling in from. As people are continuing to join, there is a Q&A section of the webinar. So do me a favor, if as we're going through stuff, you have questions, that's probably the best place to put it, just so we can kind of see those come through. So we'll be using both the chat, but specifically if you have a question, try to use the Q&A section. And as some more people are joining, maybe help me out by letting us know, for how many people is this your first time? Maybe put a 1 in the chat. If you've been more than once, maybe put the number of times you've attended, or that would be helpful too, just as we're kind of letting people join here now. All right, see some 2s. Thank you, everybody. For those who continue to come back, we really appreciate that. All right. Well, my colleague Charles may be jumping on in a few minutes. He was just wrapping up another call. But I think we can go ahead and get started. So just give me 1 sec here. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. Can everybody see a PowerPoint presentation okay? Maybe just give me a thumbs up in the chat. All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, great. So we are going to look to jump into it. So want to start off with the objective of these master classes that we've been doing, right? So what we have found is some of the most common challenges that users and people have with NetSuite are lack of training, not fully taking advantage of safe search reporting, things like that, taking advantage of workflows and automation, how to automate processes with workflows, custom records, forms, fields. We're going to touch on that a little bit in today's class. And then, things like scripting and all that stuff. There's so much capability in NetSuite, but most people just kind of scratch the surface, right? So the most common saying that we hear is, I don't know what I don't know. So our goal here is to hopefully help educate, show you what could be possible. Not to say maybe some of the stuff we'll cover you do know, right? But usually there's something that we flush out or uncover that hopefully there's enough learning for everybody, whether you're a beginner in NetSuite or whether you're more advanced. Hopefully we're usually touching on something that you can walk away from these classes with some insights or value. So yeah, that's really our goal, is to help companies and their employees get the most out of NetSuite and their investment in NetSuite. So our agenda for today, right? We're going to do a quick round of introductions. And then we will go through just some high-level overview about ScaleNorth, and then we'll jump right into the masterclass. The purpose of today's masterclass, we're going to do an example of creating a task tracker in NetSuite using some of the native CRM records in combination with a custom record, parent-child record, and using some custom fields. And then once we have that custom record in place, we'll build a saved search that we can use for reporting and kind of put it on our home dashboard. So that's the example that we're going to walk through today. And then we'll end with a live Q&A and then next steps. So just quick introductions. Like I said, Charles will probably be jumping on here in a few minutes, but Charles is the VP of Sales here. Has a lot of experience and background working with Fortune 500 companies, came from the executive recruiting world, has helped work with CFOs and financial executives, and now he's helping us out here at ScaleNorth to provide the best service and offering that we can to our clients. And then myself, right, my name is Dean Carazza. I'm a CPA. I've been with ScaleNorth since its inception or founding, which is going on almost 7 years now. But have about 14 years of experience, both public and private accounting, and then about 8 years in the NetSuite space. 2 of those before ScaleNorth was actually as a user. I was the assistant controller of a $100 million company in Irvine. And then left there to come to ScaleNorth, which we're going on about almost 7 years now, and have basically worn almost every hat at ScaleNorth. Most of my career here has been on the delivery side, actually leading and implementing some of the largest NetSuite projects that we've had. So I got a lot of experience. I've done probably up to almost 20 implementations. There are gray hairs in here, probably can't tell maybe on the Zoom, but yeah, lot of experience, love NetSuite, and excited to kind of get into it here today. So a little bit about ScaleNorth, right? These are just some KPIs that kind of give you a glimpse of who we are and what we're about. So we're, believe it or not, up to almost 300 employees. We have a ton of certifications, right? We don't hire people right out of college. These are people who have at least 8.5 years average experience in NetSuite. And probably one of the bigger differentiators about our team is that almost 57% of our staff are CPAs. I'm a CPA as well, right? So we've taken people who are not only financially savvy, but who also have real hands-on application experience running NetSuite and are certified in NetSuite to hopefully, bring about, the best option that we can to the ecosystem. And there's a couple other KPIs on here as well. The services that ScaleNorth provides at a glance, right? Our recent taglines, and I think it says it best, is our goal is we could be your one-stop shop for anything NetSuite. So we sell NetSuite, we implement NetSuite, we help people who are on NetSuite. Maybe you didn't buy it from us, but you know had a challenging implementation, or you're just really not getting, scratching the surface, not getting the most out of it. We have teams who can help with all that. And we also even provide fractional accounting services on NetSuite. So we run probably over 100 accounting departments for our clients. So again, just everything revolves around NetSuite. It's all we do. We don't support any other ERP, right? Everybody, we're all in on NetSuite. All the services we offer relate to NetSuite. Here's just a quick slide on some of our technology partners. It's not the complete list, but some of the main ones. So you may see some names on here that you recognize. Same thing, right? If as you grow and you scale, you may need to tap into some of these other, technologies to kind of really position your company for growth and scale. The ones we partner with these companies to basically help you get the most out of your tech stack and NetSuite. So that's kind of the high level overview. We do want to just provide a quick disclaimer, right? That anything that we're going to show here today is really for demonstration purposes, for educational purposes. We are not responsible for anything you go try to do and break in your own NetSuite environment or your NetSuite. So would recommend that try stuff out in the sandbox, of course, but obviously take caution if you're doing anything in a production environment. And ScaleNorth can't be responsible for anything that we didn't actually perform or do. So just a little disclaimer there. Again, the goal is to be hands-on, show some things, but just have to get that disclaimer out there. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into the actual masterclass now. And again, the goal for today, the use case that we're going to walk through is creating a task tracker. This is actually a use case I've used personally within our ScaleNorth NetSuite environment to help me stay organized and track activities and things to make sure I can hold myself accountable. So may or may not be the best use case for you, but I think what's interesting is there's a lot of good concepts and things that will be demonstrated today that you can apply to your own use case or find your own creative ways to leverage some of what we're going to cover here today. So want to show basically what the configuration plan would be for the solution. So if our goal is to create a task tracker in NetSuite, this is the configuration that we're going to walk through and how we would maybe, solve this problem. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll create a custom record called the weekly commitment record in NetSuite. We'll then add a related record subtab, and then we'll create some fields on the record that we want, right? So we'll add a couple fields, what's the type of commitment, a date field, estimated, actual. We'll throw some note fields on there, next steps, and ultimately who we want to assign this to. And then we'll create some CRM fields, and those CRM fields can actually act as child records to our custom record. So you can see here, if anybody's familiar with some of these records in NetSuite, these are native CRM fields, a task, a phone call, an event. Well, we can make those records become child records of our new custom record that we're going to create. So you'll see that in action. And then third, basically once we have the record structure in place, we'll want to build out a saved search that we can use to report on actuals versus expected. And then we can add that saved search to our home dashboard to make it a little bit easier to report on and for tracking. So that's what we're going to cover here today. Again, as we're going through it, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A, and we'll just get started. Charles, I see you're on now. If you just want to maybe say hi to everybody while I get the screens ready to go.
Yep. Hey guys, sorry I was late. I know everyone missed me so much, including Dean. Just kidding. But yeah, obviously Dean's got this. And if you guys do have any questions, please put in the Q&A. It just makes it a lot easier to track than in the chat. And then we'll get to them as he kind of powers through. At some spots where he takes breaks, we'll definitely get to those questions as much as possible. But yeah, excited to go through it.
Thanks, Charles. No, appreciate you joining and helping out. And can you guys see my NetSuite screen? Charles, can you see NetSuite okay? I think you're on mute.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
They're messaging too, sorry.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll get started. So the first thing, like I said, that we want to do is we'll start by creating a custom record. So I'm going to go to customization, list record fields, record types, and then new. And we'll give this record a name. So in our case, this is going to be called a weekly commitment record. We'll give it an ID. Okay. We don't need to have a name field. I don't want to, at least. You could have one if you wanted to, but we won't. And then we'll show the IDs as these records are being created. Everything else I kind of leave standard, and we can literally go ahead and hit save just to get this record started. Okay. Then now we can navigate in the list to find it. So here's the record that we just created. And you can see it's basically a shell record. And now we can start by adding some fields, right? So what fields do we want to have on this record that we're going to create? We're going to start out by creating a list record field for type. So I'm going to hit new field. We'll go ahead and give this a name, weekly commitment type, give it an ID. Now the type of field is going to be a list record, and we'll create a new one from scratch. So I don't already have a list that we want to attach to this, so we'll just create a new one. And you'll see it pops up a custom list that we can create on the fly. So we'll go ahead and name this now, weekly commitment type list, give it an ID. Okay, and then we can start giving it our values. So in my case, the different types of activities that I'm trying to hold myself accountable to do and track are, how many LinkedIn videos am I going to do a week? So number of LinkedIn video posts. Then maybe I want to track how many lunches I plan to do. And add another value for, how many phone calls am I going to make? And we can add another one for number of meetings. How many meetings do I plan to have, right? This is unique. Once this record is set up, you can continue to add and maintain and add any values that you want to it, but I feel like this is a good sample size to start with. So we'll go ahead and hit save. So now you see we've just created that list and it's been attached here. So we should be good. I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and that will put our first field on this custom record. You see it down here now. So next, we'll just add the remaining fields that we want to add in. So I'm going to add another field, new field. Let's just add a date field to this record. So we'll call it date, give it an ID. Right now, the type of field is going to actually be a date field. And that's pretty basic. I'm just going to hit save and move on to the next one. And you see the fields getting added as we add them in here. So then we'll just keep going. We'll add another field. Next field, I'm going to call this estimated. So we can track what's my estimated activity. Give it an ID. Okay, and now this will be an actual number field, right? I'm trying to track the number of activities that I want to do. So that'll be an integer number. Save. Add the next field. This will be so we can track actual results. So I'll label it actual, give it an ID. Again, this will be an integer number field. Okay, go ahead and hit save. Then we can add a notes field if we want. So new field, call this notes, give it an ID. Now, for a notes field, a longer notes field, I prefer a rich text field. This allows you to put bullet points and formatting and different things like that in there. So we'll select a rich text field and hit save. We'll add another kind of quick note field, more for like next steps. So call that next steps, give it an ID. And this can be a free-form text field, that's fine as is. Save. And then we'll add our last field, which will be an assigned to field. Who's this weekly commitment assigned to? So we'll hit new field, give it a label of assigned to, give it an ID. All right, and then this will be a list record type. And now we can leverage another list. So I'll leverage our employee list. So basically anybody in my employee list, I can be used as a drop down to select for this field. So you can see you can select the employee list and we should be good. So I'll hit save. And we've just added several fields to our custom record. All right. So next, what we'll want to do is we want to come over to our sub tab of our record, and we can basically create a sub tab. I'm just going to call this in the title, we'll call it related records. Hit add and save. So we now have our custom record created. That was step one. The second step was going to be to create some CRM fields that can serve as child records to our custom record that we just created. So to do that, we'll go to customization, list record fields, and then these are CRM fields. So we're going to start by creating some new CRM fields. All right. And the first one will be a task. So we'll call this weekly commitment task. And we want this to be a list record. But now the record that this field's going to be related to is the custom record that we just created called the weekly commitment. And then you see there's this option here to say that the record is the parent. So what that's saying is that this field will basically serve as child records on this weekly commitment record. So we're going to check record as parent. Okay. And then what record does this apply to? This is going to be a task field. So I'll check that box. And then on the display tab, we'll say we want to display this or show this on that related record subtab that we just created on our custom record. So that's where this is going to show up. So once we've done that, we got all that set. That looks good. We'll give this an ID really quick. And then we will save and new. Okay. Then the next one, we're going to do this for each of those activity types. It was a task, it was a phone call, and it was an event. So we just did the task one. Now we'll do the phone call one. Right. So this is going to be weekly commitment phone call. Give it our ID. Okay. Again, it's a list record. The record type is our custom record that we just created, weekly commitment. We want record as parent checked. This applies now to a phone call record. And then again, we'll display it on the related record subtab of our custom record. And we'll do the last one here now, save and new for event. So weekly commitment event, give it our ID. Same thing, this is a list record that will apply to our custom record. weekly commitment. We want this to serve as a child record, so the record's a parent. And now this applies to an event. So check the event box. And then again on the display, we want it to show on the related records. And then we can save. All right, so just like that, we've basically done the first two steps of configuration. We created our custom record with some fields. We created some child records fields that can serve as a child records to that custom record. So now we can actually kind of test it out and try putting one of these in. So to do that, we'll go to customization, go to our record types. You can navigate to it. I like to do Control F to find stuff quickly. So here's the weekly commitment record that we created. And if you hover over more and hit view records, it takes you into a page where you can basically view any if they exist, or you can create new ones here with the button. So we'll put our first new record in here. So we'll hit new weekly commitment. And you see, this is basically the shell of the custom record we created, right? It's a record. It has different fields on it, different field types on it. And we can now start basically putting data into this record, and then we can report off of it and do all that. So let's get one going here. So let's say that this was going to be, the number of LinkedIn video posts that I try to do on a weekly basis is 3. So we can say that that's for this week, the week of the 8th. Estimated is 3. Actual so far is none. Here's my rich text box. If I wanted to keep some notes, I can put in some bullet points, right? I could bold stuff, so it's kind of helpful for note taking and things like that if you wanted. Assign to, you can choose, anybody. This again was your employee list, but in this case, I'll assign it to myself, right? And just like that, we can go ahead and save to create one of these records. So now that this is saved, you see it filled out, but you'll also see now that we have that related records subtab that we created. And now you can see the child records that we had just created to link as child records to this record. So if there are events, calls, or tasks, they will show up here. You can attach them here. You can create them on the fly from here. So as an example, I want to track how many LinkedIn video posts I've done. I can go ahead and log those in as I'm doing them. So I'll go to tasks, hit new task. And just fill this out. This is now using native NetSuite CRM, a task record, right? And maybe I'm going to do a video on show me how to do a dashboard, right? And maybe I completed that on which date, and I could change the status to completed and save. You can now see if we come back to related records and tasks, there's one result now showing up in the list. Can add another one, right? Maybe I'm going to do another video post this week, show me how, reminders, right? But maybe I haven't completed it. I'm just targeting to do it, but at least I kind of have the idea. I want to get it logged so I know it's something that I plan on completing. I can go ahead and save that. So we go back to related records. Now there's 2 things on the list, right? So this is where you're able to add native CRM activities as child records against this custom record. So it kind of built out our own little tracker to, as you can see. So now that we have that, right, we've kind of finished the configuration, the record setup. We even got an example we can work with. Now we can work on building the reporting for the saved search that we can report against. So to do that, we'll go to reports, new search. You should be able to see your custom record and as an option to choose from. I think. Let's see. So one thing I noticed, this is a demo account. It wasn't showing up here, right? In the list, I didn't find it. I had to do a hard refresh. I think it cleared the cache or something, and now you see it showing up here. So just another tip and trick there. For some reason, you're not seeing it in the list. You may want to do a control F5 to kind of refresh, and now it is showing up. So we can click on it here, and we'll do, this is use advanced search, and then we're going to create a saved search here. So we'll go ahead and give this a name. Just going to call this SN Weekly Commitment Search. We'll make it public, available for dashboard view, available for sublist view. And we'll just start out with our criteria. So in this case, I think it'd be helpful to just look at weekly commitment records that are assigned to myself or me. So we can do that as a criteria filter. So we'll say assigned to is any of mine. All right. And then we can go to our results subtab. And we can do show totals. And then now we can start adding in some of the fields that we want to track. So the first one will be, what type of commitment is this? So we can do by type. We can group it. Okay. Then we're going to add our first formula field to report on the estimated activity. So we'll do a formula numeric and we'll sum it. And then in the formula bar here, we are going to do max. Because I want to be able to see the totals, that's why we're doing a sum with a max, right? If I was to just group this or sum this, it wouldn't show the total. And we don't want to necessarily get duplicated results. So by taking the max of the value, it's only going to display it uniquely or once. But the field that we want to take the max of is the estimated value. So we'll just wrap that in a max. Okay, and we can give this a label of estimated. Then we're going to add our next formula, and bear with me, this is going to be somewhat of a pretty complex formula, pretty nested formula. There's a good chance I'll screw this up, but hopefully we'll go through it and we'll try to talk our way through it and break it into its separate parts so it kind of maybe makes sense and hopefully we get it right. So we're going to add another formula numeric. Same thing, we'll make it a sum. And then we'll start building this out. So this is going to be for our actual result. So what we want to say is we'll do a case when, and because we want to do a summary of the actual result field, that actual field is in the header of our record. So again, because we want to take a unique value and not double count it, we're going to take the max of it. So we're just getting it once. It's not going to try to add the header field multiple times. We eliminate that by wrapping it in a max. So we're going to say when the max of, and then we're going to do another formula called NVL, which is no value. So basically what this is saying is NVL open parentheses. So if the actual field is populated, then basically return that value, otherwise, comma, 0. This NVL is to make sure that it always returns something. If it doesn't have a value, it might return an error or not applicable or something like that, right? So to always make sure it's at least returning a value, we're saying either take the field value, otherwise return 0. That's what this part's doing. So once we have that, right, we'll close off parentheses. So we have our string wrapped in a max. And then we'll say if this is greater than 0, see if I can make this a little bigger here. So if this is greater than 0, then go ahead and just give me the value of this, right? It should return the actual value if it's greater than 0. If it's not, meaning the actual value field wasn't populated, then what do you want to do? So then we're going to say else. What we'll do is we'll start counting the activity of our actual child records. So else, and I'm just going to kind of indent a little bit so we can break it up into pieces. So we're going to say count case when, and we're going to start going into our activity fields. So the first one we'll look at is the phone call record. So I can scroll down here and you can see call fields, and it's saying which specific field on a phone call. I'm going to say status. So if the phone call status is completed, because I only want to count actuals if it was completed, right? Maybe it's not started or pending. I'm only going to count ones that have been completed. So that's why we're using a case when formula to use that if statement. I'm only going to count if the phone call status is equal to, but it equals single quote completed. Okay, close single quote. Okay. Let's see. Then what? So if it is, then we want to return the internal ID of those phone call records that are completed so we can count how many of them are completed. So let's do that. So we'll go back into our fields here. We'll go down to our phone call fields. And now I'll just grab the internal ID. Okay. So then internal ID. And then we can put an end after this and close parentheses. So again, to kind of recap, it's going to, if there's not an actual value populated on the custom record, then take the count of the activity records that were attached to that record. So this is starting with phone call. So count any phone call that is in a status of completed by counting the internal IDs. So then now we're going to do that, and we're going to do plus our other activity types, right? This is basically just going to be a copy and paste for the remaining types and just swapping it out with the right field values. So I'm going to copy this whole thing and now just enter another line here. And now we're just going to swap out these variables with the next CRM activity. So the next one we can do is event. So I'm going to come in here, make this a little bigger again so you can see. I'll back out this one because we're basically going to replace this with the event related field. So I'll go into our fields, scroll down into event. So now we're into the event fields. And again, we want the status. So it drops it here at the bottom. I'm just going to cut that and paste that right here after the when statement. So now when the event status is equal to completed, right, then we just have to swap this out with, instead of phone call internal ID, we want it to be the event internal ID. So I'm going to backspace this out. Go back to our fields, go to our event fields, and we'll grab internal ID of event. Again, it kind of pastes it at the end or the bottom, so we just got to cut that and paste it where we want it, right after the then. Okay, so that hopefully looks good. And then we just have one more to add. So plus, so basically it's adding up the activity of phone calls that were completed, events that were completed, and then our third type was, I believe, task, right? So we'll add one more for task. So we will copy this, enter down a line, and now do the same thing, just swapping out for the task fields. So up to the when, come to our fields, and here's our task fields. Same thing, status, right? So it drops it at the end. I'm just going to cut that paste it after the when. So now when the task status is equal to completed, right? This is still saying event internal ID. We want to replace this with task internal ID. So we're just going to back this one out. And replace it now with, go to the task fields, internal ID. Again, it drops it at the end. I'll just cut it and paste it right where I need, is right after the then. Okay. And then the last part here is to just, now that we've kind of conclude our whole formula, we just need to wrap it in another end. So we'll put another end here at the end. And hopefully that will work. I know it's kind of a lot, seems kind of complicated, but if you break it into its individual parts, usually your chance of success goes up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and set that. And this is what we're going to call our actual value. Okay. And then our last value that we want to add is basically the difference. I want to compare my actuals versus my estimated. So in some ways, the hard work's been done. We'll just add another formula numeric field. This will also be a sum. And basically, you're going to take actuals. So I can just copy this whole string since that's my actuals. And then I can just subtract that from my estimated, which is already up here. I'll copy that value, come back in here, and we'll just drop that at the end after the minus sign. And we'll call this difference. Okay. So let's try to save and run this. All right. And it's given us an error. So we'll have to take a quick look and see. Like I said, there's a good chance screwed something up in there. So if we open this back up, I think I see the problem. When I kind of broke it up into lines, it didn't include a space. It just joined this else count together. So I'm just going to enter a space in between this else and count on this formula. And because I had copied this down to the one below, I'll have to make the same update on this one. Yeah, looks like it needs a space. Hopefully that does the trick. There we go. So this is now basically taking a look at our weekly commitment for the week for LinkedIn video posts. I was hoping to do 3, and it found that there was actually 1 that's been completed. So I still need 2 more videos to go, right? Again, if we wanted to drill into this record, you're like, well, how are you coming up with that activity? What was the 1 video you did? That's where you can go to your related records, go to your tasks, and you can see which one was completed. So the save search, even though there's 2 tasks out here, our save search using that case when logic is only counting or picking up the ones that are in a status of completed. All right, and then we can just add another little filter to our search. We can do available filters. We can put a date filter on there if we want. And that should be pretty much it as far as creating the search. And we can now actually end with putting this on our home dashboard, right? If we want to now leverage this tracking and reporting and all that stuff, we can go to our home dashboard. Basically, you just do a personalize. You can add in a custom search. You click on the 3 dots, setup. You should be able to search for your search. So this is SN weekly commitment search. And if we save it, just like that, I now have basically my commitments for the week right in front of me when I log in to my NetSuite. What am I trying to accomplish this week, right? And I can start adding in more things too. I can add how many phone calls do I want to do this week? How many lunches do I want to do this week? And I can track all that here. And if I need to see the proof for it, again, all that activity will be logged against this custom record that we created. So I hope that was helpful. I know it was a lot. Sorry I didn't pause in between, but kind of just wanted to get through it so you could see it all in kind of one go. But Charles, with that, I'll kind of maybe hand it back and we can just start talking about if there's any questions and things like that.
Yep. If you look in the chat, we've got a couple questions. Um, First one, any reason you didn't showcase setting a numbering prefix and perhaps minimum digits makes for much easier to read numbers that make more sense. In this case, I would be tempted to use WC with perhaps 5-digit minimum.
Yeah, not sure. Maybe you could teach me something. Yeah, I would love to learn about that. Just on reading about it, I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but would love to learn more about that and see if that can be incorporated. Um, Definitely.
And then Daniel had a question. It's a pretty long one if you want to read that to yourself, Dean.
Okay, it looks like we've been using tasks with my direct team for some time. I've been asked to design and expand month-end close tracker with role-specific save searches for prepare, review, controller. The save search logic is mapped out, but I'm hitting a wall on recurrence. I see a recurrence available on events, but I don't see any native way to apply recurrence to future tasks. So they auto-generate each period as part of yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool that you tried to build out your own. I know there are other solutions out there that are meant for close management, and those are probably a little bit more robust. But if you're trying to kind of do it on your own, I love the idea of trying to work with NetSuite and see if you could come up with something that's, tweaked and dialed to your guys' actual use case. Um, yeah, you're right. If it's an event and there's recurrence there, you could try that out if that's a native thing. The only other thing I can see would be maybe having like a workflow that can run on schedule or on trigger to basically when you're ready to do the next one, maybe it can basically create all those for you for the next month, right? That could either be done through a script, that could be done through a workflow. You could also basically take a more manual step, but if you export them all out to Excel and just change the dates or whatever, and then just re-import that back in for the next month, that could be just, one step download, change the dates, upload it back for the next month's close. I'm sure there's a lot of different things you can explore and do, but yeah, that's pretty cool, Daniel. And it sounds like you're on an interesting track there. Can you please show how to move the fields in the record from subtabs to the header? Let's see. So if we were to go back to the record, so these fields that we added were all kind of in the record. We didn't have any type of different sections between, lines and whatever. We are using the sub tab, and those records are creating kind of line records against it. But typically, what I've seen, if you want to move fields around and things like that, it's normally done within the form. So I think if we even go into this and edit, if you go to customize, there's a form. And in the form, you can kind of decide where you want things to be rearranged or laid out. You can try moving them between, primary information or different areas on a record. But that's typically what we've seen, Mike. Maybe you can try moving them around here. So like, here's the different subtabs, here's the different field groups, here's the fields. So if I kind of wanted to start grouping these things together, this is where you can kind of control where you want them to show up on the record, if that helps. Next question was with Roy. I'd be curious to see how to show highlighting on the dashboard portlet. green when the commitment is met, or yellow when not. I think that's something we can try to just take a quick look at. May not be able to nail it on the fly here, Roy, but we can take maybe an example of that because it is just a save search, and I think it would leverage some save search highlighting. So if we were to edit, I think in your save search, you have highlighting as a section, and I think you just got to give it a condition and what you want to happen. So maybe we can do like a formula that if, let's see, this might be a little bit more robust because our actual value is actually pulling from a formula field itself. We have to, I think, take that from our results. So maybe we could still try that. So if this is our difference formula, then maybe we can try putting that in here. So formula numeric, we'll put in our difference formula. Maybe say if it's greater than, again, we're just kind of messing around. If this is greater than 1, set, then maybe I want to put a red flag, something like that. I don't know, we could try it out. All right, here it's negative. Let me try that again one more time. Let's say is less than 1. See if that takes. Not sure. We have to play with it and do some uh, formulas and stuff. But yeah, you would definitely try to do that within your available highlighting. And yeah, you'd have to play with it a little bit more. Sorry, I couldn't do it on the fly, but I think you could see where you would at least try to go to give that a shot. Steve, is there any you've seen to track outbound email activity, even if sent from NetSuite? Uh, well, typically, I think if you're sending from NetSuite, it usually does a pretty good job of tracking. Like if somebody replies to that thread, the reply should come in. The problem I think we found is not a lot of people do email from NetSuite. They prefer to use their own Outlook or something like that. What we personally use, we use Outlook, but we use the Soligo Cloud Extend tool that allows us to sync in either outbound, inbound, doesn't matter, email communications with all the different records in NetSuite, customers, prospects, opportunities, transactions, whatever. So basically, it's just an extension that allows you to sync email correspondence within NetSuite, if that helps, Steve. Yeah, and then Roy, good question. I don't know. Like I said, I'd play around with this some more to see. It could be trying a summary level highlighting. That's probably what it is because, yeah, you might be right because this is a group search. I wonder if we drill into this. Um, it might be something that if we did the same thing on the group level instead of we can maybe try that if we got a little bit more time here towards the end. But yeah, you just got to kind of play with this stuff a little bit to see. All right, Charles, it looks like those were most of the questions, unless we got some more here.
I think Nicholas had one in the chat. Um, when creating a custom record type, can I have fields auto-populate once one field is designated? For example, having an item description and brand auto-populate after a model ID is selected.
So one way that we've seen that you can kind of do some kind of cool conditional stuff like that on a record with like fields is you can use a workflow and then you can use workflow conditions. So one of the workflow actions is actually set a field value. And within that setting of a field value, you can give it a condition. So like you could say that when this field is ABC, then set this field value to, XYZ. And if you have that workflow running and you set up the right actions on, client side, server side, all that stuff in your workflow settings, as somebody's filling out that form, it can help pre-populate or make mandatory or not mandatory, all those types of things. You can kind of control with a workflow on the custom record. Any other questions or concerns either about what we were covering or Charles? I know if we want, we could open up to just anything NetSuite in general, but
Yeah, I think that was all the questions. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, doesn't have to be the specific topics, obviously. Feel free to put them in the Q&A. Um, and what I'll do is while we're doing that, I'm gonna actually fire off our poll, if you can, or survey. The survey is extremely important because it helps us to understand what you guys want to see on a monthly basis. Putting together topics and information is extremely important. But want to make sure it's something that you guys actually want to hear about and see. If you guys can take 30 seconds, it should have popped up on your screen and just answer the questions. I think there's 8 questions. That would be very, very helpful. We'll also just continue to take just overall Q&A questions. Any topic that you guys have, Dean will do his best to answer as well. But these surveys are extremely helpful. Help us to help you, basically.
100%. And I'm just trying out this summary thing to see if that might do the trick too. Yeah, there we go. They're throwing a red flag now on our highlighting that we tried in the summary. So I think if that was Roy or whoever, good call out, and thanks for pointing us there. That you just gotta sometimes you just gotta try this stuff out, but you can see where you would go to try to mess with highlighting and see if you can incorporate it into your search. I think what would be helpful too, guys, appreciate it looks like we have almost 35 people on this meeting, and uh this one was pretty close to our last one, right? So we weren't necessarily sure how much turnout we'd get. So I appreciate everybody turning out. But what'd be really helpful is this is our 12th class, right? So we've been doing this for a year. We've done a lot of good sessions. We've covered on a lot of different things, scripting, workflows, reporting, KPIs, pivot tables. We did a class on AI and connecting an AI connector to NetSuite and doing some of that. So we've kind of touched a lot of different stuff. But it would be really, really helpful if you guys can, put in the chat, what would you like to see more? Where would you like to learn more? Where do you still think the most room for, to get the most out of NetSuite is? We will definitely look to as we do these in the future, we want to kind of make sure that we're touching on the things that are important to you guys and to users. And so any feedback, collaboration you can give would be great so that we can continue to try to make this worthwhile and appreciate you guys spending time with us on a Friday.
Yep, absolutely. That survey kind of asks all those questions in there. But if you guys, biggest takeaway, favorite topics, what topics would you want to hear about next week, or excuse me, next month? Um, Obviously, if you want to have a more detailed conversation, we can definitely do that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Um, And you guys can put, if you have specific topics that you like, you can just put it in the chat as well. Obviously, please fill out the survey, but that would help us considerably, considerably. Give it a few more minutes here. Yeah, if we can give Dean a round of a webinar chat applause. These take a lot of work and time and effort for him to put together. So if you can give him a thumbs up, clap, thanks, that would be greatly appreciated. And he puts a lot of time into this stuff.
Thanks, everybody.
Um, good, good, good. One last flow, if we can. I'm glad you guys get a lot out of it. Good stuff, Barney. Um, the survey, you can just spend 30 seconds and just fill out the survey. It's really, really quick, but it does help us considerably understanding what's important, what do you guys want, and what do you guys need help with, so that we can continue to give value to the NetSuite ecosystem as well.
And maybe Charles, we should let people know. I mean, because it's going to be right around the corner. Anybody going to Sweet World? We're going to be at Sweet World. I think we're booth 205 or 250.
205, booth
205.
205. Come see us.
So
We
come
have a
say
big,
hi. We'd love to chat. We got some cool swag and some free stuff that we're going to be handing out that I think people would like. And it'd just be great to see people in person and not always have to do the webinar thing. So,
and just see your names, not even faces.
yeah.
Nicholas, Sweet World is NetSuite's trade show. Where basically it hosts every year. Different vendors, partners, third-party partners are there. It's October, what, 6th through
Six.
9th, Dean?
Yeah. 6
Yeah,
through the
October
9th.
6th through 9th. I'm sure if you just do a search in your inbox for Sweet World, if you're, I guarantee they've emailed somebody in your team about it, about attending. It's their one-time event. It's very, very large in Las Vegas. It's fun. But we'll have a pretty large booth this year. And we haven't in previous years, but we will this year.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Um, good. I mean, I know we and finished a little bit early today, but any last minute questions for Dean? Let me check the Q&A. Um, wow, 5 times, right? That's a lot. I don't see. Roy had one more question, Dean. Not
Hmm.
related to today's topic, but with 2025.2 release, they are freezing sublist headers. This is huge. Think about a huge sales order with many lines where the header scrolls away. I think it's more of a comment than a
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I think I heard about that too. I heard that, and that hopefully will help. I mean, it's important to look through those new release topics and notes. A lot of the time, there's not good stuff in there. It's just like some new language. Oh, we support this language now or something. But you got to review those because every once in a while, there's some golden nuggets in there that like there's some good stuff coming in it. Especially where I think Sweet World is going to be really interesting is all this talk about AI, right? And all the stuff that's happening with AI. I think it's crazy. I don't know if you guys saw, but the Oracle founder just became the richest, surpassed Elon Musk as the richest person in the world, right? And Oracle stock climbed a bunch. Like, I don't know, they're onto something. And it will just be interesting to see what's going to be released here at Sweet World.
Yep, yep. And I just put the link to our previously recorded NetSuite webinars. Um, the first one we did was comprehensive CFO toolkit, dashboards, KPIs, workflows, automating process with Vena. You can kind of go through all of them, but yeah, it is. It
Yeah,
is right.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Good guys. Well, like I said, last pitch, if you guys can just fill out that survey that should have popped up on your screen, helps us a lot to help you guys. So, good. Any other questions or before we head out of here? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right, everyone. Where we are, appreciate it, Roy. Good job, Dean. We're 3 minutes into the hour, so Have a great Friday, everyone. And we will definitely we'll be on next month, probably one of the second to last weeks in October. I think Dean announced it.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys next month and feel free to reach out. All
Yeah,
right, guys.
please just watch LinkedIn. I do post, Charles does post, our company does post. So if you just want to make sure that you see those the next class topic and date and everything and make sure you're registered, just be on the lookout. We usually get those out probably next week. So just keep an eye out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks
All right,
everybody.
guys.
Thanks, Charles.
Have a good one. Thanks, Dean. Talk
See ya.
soon.